This is TWiT.
You write Facebook shouldn't be in charge of how you use Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an article about a really cool little plugin called Unfollow Everything. It's a Chrome plugin that a British developer made.
Down, didn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And so this is a really interesting example of how Facebook and other platforms can weaponize laws that aren't privacy laws and kind of privacy wash what they're doing. They can say, oh, well, like the reason we invoked our terms of service or whatever is because we think you're violating privacy. And, like the way that we can figure out if someone's violating privacy is if they violated a privacy law, not because Mark Zuckerberg's lawyers figured out how to shut someone down for a terms of service violation and then just waved their hands and went, privacy, privacy, privacy. That doesn't make it a privacy violation. So the Unfollow Everything, this developer in the UK sat down and wrote a little Chrome plug. Or no, he didn't write the Chrome plugin first. First, he just went through Facebook and unfollowed everything. All the pages, all the friends, all the groups. So he's still friends with the friends. They're just not in his timeline. In fact, there was nothing in his news feed. Now, he could go and look at what his friends were doing, and when he was done, he was done. Or he could follow them if they were people he wanted to see from, but what he didn't get is infinite scroll. So eventually, he pulled to refresh, and there'd be nothing new.
I see it. I've seen it all.
Yeah, come to the end of the internet. The internet is over. Go away and come back tomorrow. We'll have more internet for you. And he loved it. It was amazing.
What a great idea.
Yeah. And so then he wrote a plugin to make it automatic because Facebook makes it hard. He made it easy. It's scriptable. And everybody who used it loved it. They were like, this is how I like using Facebook. Like, I wanted to quit Facebook. Now I'm glad to use Facebook. I use it less, and the time that I spend there is satisfying. And so Facebook hit him with a terms of service violation. And they said, you have to take this down. You swore on your mother's grave when you signed our terms of service that you wouldn't do stuff that upset our shareholders. You've broken your promise. You're kicked off Facebook, and those terms of service are still binding on you. Don't think that just because you're not a Facebook user, you can go ahead and make Facebook plugins. You cannot. The terms of service prohibit you forever. Don't even think about making a Facebook plugin ever again. And here's the thing, when Zuck posted his internal rebuttal to the whistleblower, he said it's stupid. Why would we make Facebook in a way that deliberately made people unhappy? We don't want unhappy users. Advertisers don't want unhappy users either. And he's right that if there was a way to make his advertisers and his shareholders happy that didn't make the users unhappy, he would, all other things being equal, prefer his users to be happy. But if there's a way to be happier on Facebook while using it less, that's a thing that his advertisers and shareholders are a lot more. Yeah, they're a lot more, foursquare for their own interests there. They don't care if you're unhappy if the alternative is you don't use Facebook as much.
Right.
And so, it's kind of a little existence proof. And it's proof that, if we are to have a Facebook that's a good Facebook, which some people will say is possible. I'm a skeptic. I am a Zucker vegan, but some people say that it's possible. We can't leave Facebook in charge of it. There has to be, at the very least, there has to be an escape hatch. There has to be a way for you to configure Facebook so that it serves your interests and not Facebook shareholders' interests, because that at least will be the thing at the boardroom table when everyone's sitting around planning a new algorithmic tweak. And someone says, I think this is going to make the users unhappy. And someone else says, what are they going to do? We're the phone company. We don't have to care. The other one goes, some kid in England's going to write a plugin. And then they're all like, oh, yeah, no, it's not going to work. Huh. Okay, we'll do something different. And if they go ahead and do the stupid thing, some kid in England gets to write a plugin. You get to undo the dumb thing they did.
And the way you make Facebook do this is a digital regulator of some sort?
It's a couple of things. So one thing we could do is there's probably going to be an antitrust settlement in Facebook's future, or at least a chance for it. Facebook is probably going to cry uncle at a certain point and offer a settlement to Lena.
Regulate us, says Facebook. Regulate us. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, it depends if they do that from a position of strength or weakness. I mean, the Facebook version of regulate us is please impose a bunch of rules that will cost us 1% of our annual turnover to comply with, but will be so expensive that no one can ever enter the market and compete with us, right?
Bingo.
That's good.
Regulatory capture defined.
That's good regulation. Yeah.
Yeah, the first preference is no rules. The second preference is rules only they can comply with, right?
Right.
But if they throw in the towel, right? If they say like we're willing to entertain a settlement, then the FTC could say, great, you've got a special master from now on. Your adult supervision. Anytime you're going to threaten someone with any kind of lawsuit over copyright, patent, terms of service, tortious interference with contract, cybersecurity, whatever, you just got to wave it under the special master's nose, and they got to make sure that you are not using this anti-competitively, that there's like a bona fide thing, because Facebook will tell you quite truthfully that there are a lot of people Facebook defends you against, right? Like they have a whole division full of hardworking, really smart, good at their job people who block a bajillion scams a day and hackers and information thieves and identity thieves and whatever. None of those people's job is to defend you against Facebook.
There's
right?
a precedent for this. The FTC's consent decree with Microsoft put a special master in place.
Yeah, who would be a good special master for Facebook? That makes
so
obvious.
Microsoft's special master was a fellow we know and love named Lawrence Lessig. That was pretty cool.
That works. Yeah.
I mean, Max Schrems.
Yeah, there you go. Somebody really,
we finally import a good Austrian to our political apparatus. After the unbroken string of dismal Austrians, starting with von Hayek and Schwarzenegger, we'd finally get a really great Austrian.
I think you could argue the special master was good for the society, but it was good for Microsoft in the long run. Didn't hurt.
Well, I mean, I think the thing that was good for Microsoft was that they managed to get a judge to overturn the order that would have broken them up. That's what saved Microsoft.
That was the victory. Yeah.
But it wasn't an all-out defeat for us either, for the public interest, because being dragged through antitrust hell for 7 years was hard on Microsoft.
Yeah.
The Bill Gates deposition that went viral on VHS, in which Gates just loses it, and it's like hours of him being like petulant and idiotic and just awful and humiliating, and it's on YouTube, you should look at it now. That really changed the internal calculus. Like when you talk to Microsofties who were executives, who were top people, about why Microsoft didn't crush Google the way they crushed Netscape, because they could have done it just as easily. They say we didn't want to end up in front of the FTC again.
Yep.
And when
exactly.
And in 2019, Kara Swisher asked Gates, how come you let Google buy Android? How come you didn't buy Android? And he said, we were distracted by the antitrust stuff. But the antitrust case ended 7 years for the Android acquisition. What he meant was that 7 years later, we were so traumatized and worried about being tied to the grill of the FTC's pickup truck and driven up and down a gravel road, that we just didn't want to do stuff that was going to look bad. And, Google never went through that. And, Google has made the best search engine that there ever was. And I don't want to see Google disappear. I want Google to stop acting like antitrust law isn't a thing. I want Google to be afraid of the public interest being asserted against it. I want Google to be the Google that it was back in 2003 when Larry and Sergey came and spoke at a Kevin Werbach conference and said, look, guys, here's the thing you need to know. We're going to be the best company we can be, because all it takes to switch away from a search engine is to change your bookmarks. And so all we're going to be committed to from now on is just making you as happy as possible and not being evil, right? And I want that Google back. And the way we get that Google back is by making them afraid that if they don't do it, that they will face meaningful enforcement consequences that will do to them what happened to Bill Gates, what happened to IBM for 12 years, and made them unwilling to make their own operating system. So they got Bill Gates to make an operating system for them when the PC came out. I want them to be worried that being ostentatiously terrible has consequences, even if you have high switching costs.